When HOA President Marjorie Wellington threw my epileptic daughter's award trophy in the mud and triggered her seizure, she had no idea I was the county sheriff. Now, with financial records in hand and a dashcam recording of her cruelty, it's time for justice. And a lesson in compassion she'll never forget. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more Karen stories. That doesn't belong in this neighborhood. Marjorie Wellington's shrill voice cut through what should have been one of the proudest moments of my daughter's life. We had barely stepped out of my police cruiser when the HOA president came marching across our front yard, her designer heels sinking slightly into the damp grass after the afternoon rain. My 12-year-old daughter Amelia froze beside me, her hands tightening around the golden trophy she'd just won at the State Science Olympiad. Despite being diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis at age 5, Amelia had worked tirelessly on her robotics project, designing a small device that could help people with limited hand mobility pick up objects. The pain in her joints had been especially bad these past few weeks, but she'd pushed through it all. "Excuse me?" I placed a protective hand on Amelia's shoulder. Marjorie pointed a manicured finger at our house. "Those blue curtains you installed last week. They're not on the approved color palette for the Oak Ridge Estates. And don't think I haven't noticed that bird feeder." I sighed. "Ms. Wellington, we just got back from Amelia's award ceremony. She won first place in the State Science Olympiad. Can this wait until tomorrow?" "Rules don't wait, Mr. Callahan," she snapped, writing furiously on her citation pad. "This neighborhood has standards. Your family has received 3 warnings already this month." The warnings had started shortly after my wife passed away from cancer last year. As a single dad working as county sheriff, maintaining a perfect lawn according to HOA specifications hadn't exactly been my top priority. Amelia's medical appointments, my unpredictable work schedule, and just trying to keep our lives together took precedence over the shade of our curtains. "Dad," Amelia whispered, her voice strained with the effort of holding back tears, "can we just go inside?" I nodded, guiding her toward the house. The flare-up in her joints was visible in her careful, measured steps, a stark contrast to the boundless energy most 12-year-olds possessed. "And what is that?" Marjorie's voice followed us, zeroing in on Amelia's trophy. "Another unauthorized lawn decoration?" Amelia turned, her brown eyes wide with confusion. "It's my science trophy. I won first place for my adaptive device design." "Well, regardless of what it is, any exterior decorations must be approved by the committee. Section 12, Paragraph 4 of the Covenant." Marjorie strode closer, her voice taking on the rehearsed tone of someone who'd memorized rules specifically to weaponize them. "No exceptions." "It's not a decoration," I explained, my patience wearing thin. "It's an academic achievement award that my daughter just received today. Anything visible from the street falls under our guidelines." She pointed to the trophy. "That certainly doesn't match our neighborhood aesthetic." Amelia's eyes filled with tears. "But I worked so hard." "Perhaps you should have worked hard at understanding rules too," Marjorie snapped, and before I could stop her, she snatched the trophy from Amelia's hands. The sudden movement clearly hurt my daughter's inflamed joints, and she let out a small cry of pain that sent a surge of anger through me. "Give that back," I demanded, but Marjorie was already backing away. "This will be held at the HOA office until you file the proper paperwork for display approval." She turned to leave but stumbled on the edge of our lawn. The trophy slipped from her grasp, landing with a dull thud in the mud puddle left by the afternoon rain. Amelia let out a heartbroken sob. 3 months of working through painful joints, late nights researching, and pushing through physical therapy sessions, all for a trophy now lying face down in the mud. "Oops," Marjorie said without a hint of remorse. She made no move to retrieve it. "You should probably clean that up. Yard debris is another violation." Something inside me snapped, but years of law enforcement training kept me from losing my composure completely. "Marjorie, do you know what I do for a living?" She waved dismissively. "Some kind of security work, I believe." "It doesn't matter. No one is above HOA regulations." I reached into my jacket and pulled out my badge. "I'm the county sheriff, Marjorie. And what you just did wasn't merely unkind, it was theft and destruction of property." Her face paled slightly, but her arrogance prevailed. "Don't be ridiculous. I'm enforcing HOA rules. You can't arrest someone for that." "No," I agreed quietly, "but I can arrest someone for theft, destruction of private property, and," I glanced at Amelia, who was trying to hold back tears, "and for deliberately causing emotional distress to a minor." Marjorie's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "You wouldn't dare." I knelt down, carefully retrieved Amelia's mud-covered trophy and handed it to her. "Honey, why don't you go inside and clean this up? I need to have a conversation with Ms. Wellington." Amelia nodded, taking the trophy with trembling hands. The arthritis made her fingers stiff, and I could see the effort it took for her to hold on to her prize as she walked inside. Once Amelia was inside, I turned back to Marjorie. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to step down as HOA president, effective immediately." "That's absurd. I've been president for 8 years. And in those 8 years, you've filed over 300 complaints against families in this neighborhood, most of them targeting working parents, elderly residents, and yes, families with children with medical conditions." I took a step closer. "I've been collecting statements for months. Did you really think no one would eventually fight back?" Her face turned scarlet. "You can't force me to resign." "No, but the audit I've ordered into HOA finances might. Specifically the $15,000 allocated for community landscaping that somehow ended up funding your backyard renovation." I watched the color drain from her face. "Or perhaps you'd prefer to discuss how you selectively enforce rules against certain homeowners while ignoring violations by your friends?" You can't prove anything. I'm the county sheriff, Marjorie. Investigating is what I do." She took a step back. "This is harassment." "No, harassment is what you did to my 12-year-old daughter who just wanted to celebrate her achievement despite living with chronic pain every day. Harassment is making Mrs. Jenkins cry because her late husband's memorial rosebush was non-conforming. Harassment is threatening the Rodriguez family with fines because their grandmother with a heart condition needed a closer parking spot." I looked her in the eye. "Sound familiar?" Marjorie's mouth quivered. "What do you want?" "Your resignation by tomorrow morning, a full apology to my daughter at the next HOA meeting, and a public commitment to revise the HOA regulations to be more accommodating to families with special circumstances." "And if I refuse?" I smiled grimly. "Then I make those financial documents public. I believe your husband is running for city council? Imagine how that would affect his campaign." Marjorie's face drained of all color. "You're bluffing," she whispered, but her voice trembled. "Let me be very clear," I said, keeping my voice low and controlled. "I've already collected statements from 17 families in this neighborhood about your selective enforcement of rules. I have copies of HOA financial statements showing suspicious transactions between the HOA account and Wellington Landscaping, your brother-in-law's company, correct? I have photographic evidence of your own 7 violations that mysteriously never resulted in fines." I paused, letting that sink in. "And I have a dashcam video of what just happened here today." She took a step back. That's harassment." "No, Marjorie. That's justice." I softened my tone slightly. "I don't want to ruin your life or your husband's career. I just want my daughter to feel safe in her own neighborhood and for everyone here to be treated fairly." "Fine," she hissed. "I'll resign." "Is that all?" "Not quite." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a business card. "This is the contact information for Judge Harriet Simmons. She oversees the county's community service program. You'll report to her office tomorrow at 9 a.m. and sign up for 100 hours of community service." "You can't legally force me to." "I can press charges for theft and destruction of property," I interrupted. "This is me giving you an alternative. The judge is a personal friend and she's agreed to keep this quiet if you comply." Marjorie snatched the card from my hand. "What kind of community service?" "The judge mentioned the new therapy program at Westview Children's Hospital. They're looking for volunteers to help with their art therapy sessions for children with chronic pain conditions. I believe they need someone to help organize supplies and assist the therapists." Her eyes widened in understanding. This wasn't just punishment, it was education. "And one more thing," I added. "The $15,000 that was misappropriated? You'll be paying that back to the HOA within 30 days. The funds will be earmarked for neighborhood improvements that benefit families with special needs, starting with better outdoor lighting for residents with visual impairments and benches for those who need to rest during walks." "That's my husband's money too," she protested weakly. "Then perhaps you should have discussed your financial decisions with him before now." I looked toward my house where I could see Amelia watching us through the window. My daughter spent 3 months on that science project despite being in pain every single day. She never complained, never asked for special treatment. All she wanted was to be recognized for her mind, not pitted for her condition. Something flickered across Marjorie's face, perhaps recognition, perhaps shame. "I'll expect your official resignation tomorrow, along with confirmation from Judge Simmons that you've signed up for community service." The financial restitution can be arranged through the HOA's attorney. And then we're done? She asked quietly. Almost. There's still the matter of a public apology to my daughter at the next HOA meeting. Marjorie nodded stiffly and turned to leave, her shoulders slumped in defeat. The next morning, a pristine replacement trophy appeared on our doorstep, along with Marjorie's resignation letter to the HOA board. The note attached simply read, "I apologize for my behavior. You were right." Beneath it was a receipt for a $15,000 transfer to the HOA account and a signed community service form from Judge Simmons' office. 2 weeks later, I sat at the back of the community center as our newly elected HOA president, Mrs. Rodriguez's son Miguel, outlined the changes to our neighborhood guidelines. Front and center was the new Amelia Callahan Amendment, ensuring that all HOA rules would be enforced with compassion and reasonable accommodations for hardship cases, including families with medical conditions. Amelia sat beside me, her replacement trophy proudly displayed on her lap, though I could tell her joints were bothering her today. "Did you know this would happen, Dad?" she whispered, gesturing to Miguel at the podium. I shook my head. "No, kiddo. I just wanted her to apologize." "The whole neighborhood showed up," she observed, looking around at the packed room. Every seat was filled. The Jenkins, the Patels, the Wilsons, all families who had faced Marjorie's wrath over the years. Marjorie herself sat in the corner, looking considerably different. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by casual slacks and a simple blouse. This was day 12 of her community service, and I'd heard from Judge Simmons that she'd been surprisingly engaged. The art therapy program at Westview Children's Hospital was apparently having an impact on her. The judge had called me just yesterday. "I don't know what you said to her, Sheriff," Harriet had told me, "but she's actually asked if she can continue volunteering after her 100 hours are up. Says she's learning a lot from the children she's working with." As Miguel finished outlining the new compassionate enforcement guidelines, Marjorie caught my eye and nodded almost imperceptibly. When the meeting adjourned for refreshments, several neighbors who'd once cowered under her reign gave her a wide berth, whispering behind their hands. Public humiliation was perhaps the harshest punishment of all for someone like Marjorie Wellington. I noticed Mr. Jenkins, an elderly widower who'd been fined repeatedly for his unsightly memorial garden for his late wife, approach Marjorie with a stiff posture. "I heard you've been working with kids at the hospital," he said gruffly. Marjorie nodded, her eyes downcast. "Yes, it's been eye-opening." Mr. Jenkins cleared his throat. "My Elaine was an art therapist before she passed. Specialized in pediatrics." He paused. "I've got some of her supplies in the attic. Special brushes for kids with grip difficulties. Might be useful for your program." The olive branch was small but significant. Marjorie's eyes widened slightly as she nodded. "I'd appreciate that very much, Mr. Jenkins." After the refreshments, Marjorie approached us hesitantly. "Amelia," she said softly, "I wanted to tell you that I saw your robotics project on display at the district showcase. The adaptive gripper you designed, it's remarkable." Amelia looked up, surprised. "Thank you, Ms. Wellington. Please call me Marjorie." She paused. "Actually, I have a nephew with juvenile arthritis. I was wondering if you might be willing to share your research with his physical therapist? They've been looking for new tools to help him with daily tasks." I watched in amazement as Amelia's face lit up. "I'd love to. I have all my design notes and prototypes at home." Sometimes revenge isn't about bringing people down. Sometimes it's about lifting everyone up instead. As we left the community center, I noticed Marjorie helping an elderly Mrs. Patterson navigate the steps, her arm gently supporting her. People can change, I thought. Sometimes all it takes is a muddy trophy and a sheriff's badge to show them how. But mostly, it takes a 12-year-old girl with a brilliant mind and an unstoppable spirit to teach an entire neighborhood what real strength looks like. On our drive home, Amelia was quiet, staring out the window at the houses we passed. "Everything okay, kiddo?" I asked. She nodded, still looking out the window. "Dad, do you think Mom would be proud of me for forgiving Ms. Wellington?" The question caught me off guard. "Your mom always said that holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." I smiled at the memory. "So yes, I think she'd be very proud." Amelia smiled, clutching her trophy. "Then I'm glad everything happened exactly the way it did." So was I. Because sometimes the biggest victories don't come with trophies. They come with changed hearts and second chances, even for HOA Karens who throw precious awards in the mud. And sometimes, just sometimes, being the county sheriff has its advantages.